Shout out to Jeff Pearlman, a longtime sports writer, was with Sports Illustrated for a long time. I just started following him on social media recently, and he put out a post yesterday, and it was talking about the NFL Hall of Fame finalists, right, that came out, last couple of days, and only 5 guys can make it in. So he was going through the list of NFL finalists. I don't have them right here with me, but I will definitely get into that next week or two. All right, because the guys who are going to make the vote and be one of the top 5, that's going to be released right before the Super Bowl. So I'm going to get into it and go through the list and tell you all who I think the 5 guys should be among the finalists to go in this year. And he quickly, one of the finalists is Eli Manning. He quickly dismissed Eli Manning, which I agree with, all right? And to me, Eli Manning is why the Giants are still sorry now, okay? Because the Giants let him run the team into the ground thanks to all the fans who made excuses for Eli. Oh, Eli. This is the problem. That's the problem. It's not Eli. And they got rid of everybody else. They got rid of all the real talent on the team, all right? They could have had a good team if they just got rid of the quarterback and brought in a competent quarterback the last 8 years of Eli's career. 2012 through 2019, the Giants were rock bottom bad with Eli Manning. And the Giants right there, a losing culture was born. And they still have not come out of that and recovered from that, all right? And who do they have in there right now to quarterback? Oh, a quarterback who came from where Eli Manning came from. What a surprise. Ole Miss, all right, after the previous quarterback, Daniel Jones, he played like Dave Brown. Arguably, the worst quarterback in Giant history, Dave Brown is. Both of them went to Duke. Who else? Who do you know that went to Duke? Dave Brown did. So the Giants, we got to draft a Duke quarterback. They draft Daniel Jones, waste 6 years with him, who's terrible, and then they get, all right, and Daniel Jones had Eli Manning connections, okay? Had the same college coach, all that, but I don't want to get into that. I've been through that a lot. But Jaxson Dart, okay, same school as Eli. I was skeptical coming into the year, but you know what? I give Jaxson Dart his props. He's very talented. He showed me a lot this year, okay? And Giants, though, only won, 3 games? So, the Giants are just, you can't make it up because they had the chance to have the number 1 pick in the draft this year. Number 1 pick in the draft, you get that means that you were the worst team in the league. And the Giants, all right, last week against the Raiders, they were playing in a game where the loser would have had the worst record in the NFL and would have been in place to have the number 1 pick in the draft this year. The Giants screwed that up, but of course the players don't care about that. The players don't care anything about the number 1 pick, okay? The number 1 pick could come in and take their job if you're a player. You don't care about that. You want to win if you're a current player. The fans want the number 1 pick. The front office, I'm sure, wants the number 1 pick. Ownership wants the number 1 pick, but the head coach and the players, they want to win because if you had the first pick in the draft, that means you were horrible. Y'all all could be gone, okay? So the Giants actually won the game last week, so that ruined their chance for the first pick. Even if they lose today, though, and the Raiders win against Kansas City, then the Giants would have the first pick. But we all doubt that the Raiders are going to win the game today, okay? Because, all right, their ownership and all that, they want the first pick, and they need the quarterback, okay? And the top quarterback prospect, Mendoza, who plays for Indiana. We watched him on New Year's Day against Alabama in the Rose Bowl, was outstanding. Blew away Alabama. And I've heard talk about, so the Giants, so even if they have the number 2 pick, they'll be in position to draft a quarterback. And you know what? Right now, the second top quarterback prospect in the draft happens to be a black quarterback from Oregon, Dante Moore. You know how I feel. I've always wanted to see the Giants have a black quarterback. They had a good black quarterback, a young black quarterback. They never had that. They never really had a starting black quarterback. All right. I've mentioned, all right, Giants have had less than 10 games in their history with a black quarterback starting, okay? And they, for the first time this year, they came into the season with an official starting black quarterback, right? Because the last A couple of times they had a black quarterback start. It was for a handful of games. They were the backup. The backup, one time, Tyrod Taylor came in to replace Eli Manning for one game in 2017 when the Giants finally benched Eli Manning and the fans went crazy. The fans were ready to line up outside the Giant Stadium with pitchforks, okay? That's how pissed they were, all right? And the general manager and head coach got fired the next day, okay, because the fans went crazy. The media went crazy. Oh, poor Eli. Giants were like 2-9, horrible. Okay, everybody cried about it when they sat Eli, sorry, not Tyrod Taylor, they sat Eli for Geno Smith, okay? And then that was the one time in like 90-plus years that day that the Giants had a black quarterback starting. Okay, then Eli comes in, starts 2 more years. Giants are horrible again, okay, of course. And then, all right, they had Tyrod Taylor like 2 years ago start a couple of games as the backup to Daniel Jones, okay? And then they came into this year after drafting Jaxson Dart with Russell Wilson as their starter, okay? And we knew that Russell Wilson, first of all, I did not even want Russell Wilson on the team as the Giants starter because I knew that he was washed up and that he was not too long for this world, for the Giants world. He was only there just holding a spot until they felt like Jaxson Dart was ready to go in and play. So you knew that it was like, what's the point? Like, I want a quarterback to have the chance to be the quarterback for years, not somebody who they're going to have in there to be a placeholder for a couple of games. And that turned out to be the case. Russell Wilson was not very good. He had a good game in week 2 against Dallas, and then next game at home against KC was so bad that they gave Jaxson Dart to start the next week in week 4. And I was skeptical because, again, Jaxson Dart came from the same place as Eli Manning, Ole Miss, who, by the way, Ole Miss has a black quarterback right now who balled out on New Year's Day. Trinidad Chambliss in the Sugar Bowl, he beat Georgia, a very good team. So, hey, Giants, if you want to get, well, you know what, so he actually succeeded Jaxson Dart at Ole Miss this year. But again, you know, I gotta give Jaxson Dart his credit. Like, I think he's a good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna hear me campaigning, oh, get rid of him and go get Dante Moore, the black quarterback from Oregon. You know, as much as I would love to see the Giants have a young black quarterback for years, Jaxson Dart is good. He's good, okay? And the Giants, if I'm being honest, should not get rid of Jaxson Dart, okay? All right? As much as I would love to see the Giants have a young black quarterback, if they got Dante Moore, if they got rid of Jaxson Dart and brought in Dante Moore, I'd feel good about it because that would be what I've dreamed of seeing the Giants have since I was a kid. And my dad pointed out to me that there's hardly any black quarterbacks in the NFL because of racism. It was like a couple, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, Rodney Peete, Vince Evans, okay? That was it. That was it. For years, 80s, 90s, for years, okay? So, like I said, the Giant quarterback, Phil Simms, I love Phil Simms. Phil Simms, to me, is the best quarterback in Giant history, all right? He should have been the quarterback, all right? Kerry Collins, to me, was better than Eli. Kerry Collins was good. Eli got in there. He helped the Giants win 2 Super Bowls. Thank you, all right? But then it was just like, for all those losing years, for years after that, they kept him around, and he should have been gone. And I said this before. The Giants, with Eli Manning, lost their accountability at the quarterback position because before Eli, if the Giants had 2 straight bad years or 1 bad year, a lot of times, the quarterback was gone. No excuses. Phil Simms, my beloved Phil Simms, okay, who, as a child growing up, I saw him win the Giants 2 Super Bowls, okay? Unbelievable, all right? After the 93 season, when Giants went 11-5 with Phil Simms, they won a playoff game with Phil Simms, and then after that season, the Giants got rid of him like a bad habit. Why? But then Eli Manning, every year, losing, and they kept him all these years, so that's why the Giants are horrible now, because a losing culture was born with that guy, okay? Great guy off the field, whatever. We see him with his brother, Peyton, on TV. Seems like a great guy. But he should have been going from the Giants a long time ago before they finally got rid of him. And letting him run the team into the ground is why they are still sorry, all right? And people talk about Hall of Fame with Eli Manning, please. So Jeff Pearlman, former Sports Illustrated writer, I commend you, okay, for quickly dismissing Eli for the Hall of Fame, because you're right, 100%, okay? Eli Manning, you compare his numbers to his contemporaries, pathetic, all right? But Jaxson Dart, okay, who came to Ole Miss about maybe 20 years after Eli, I guess, right? He's been good for the Giants this year, man. I mean, he was good even though the Giants only won 3 games. The thing about it is that when Jaxson Dart first took over this year, and him and his boy, another rookie this year, Cam Scatterbull, all right, and I got to give him props too, a lot of props, because he's somebody who, all right, beat the odds, because you don't see a lot of white running backs, okay? You don't. But this guy was phenomenal for the Giants, okay? But then he got hurt against Philadelphia. So when Jaxson Dart came in, the Giants beat the LA Chargers, all right, the first game at home, a good Chargers team, very impressive. Then they lost to New Orleans on the road, right? Then they played the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, at home on a Thursday night in front of the nation, and Dart and Scatterbull were phenomenal. Scatterbull scored 3 touchdowns. I saw Scatterbull make the Eagles defense quit, all right? They did not want any more of him coming at them, all right, with his power. They quit. And the Giants at that point, Dart and Scatterbull, they brought passion. They brought confidence to the team. Like, those two guys together, they gave the Giants a shot of confidence and belief. And then the next week, after blowing out the Eagles in front of the nation, they go to Denver against a very good Denver team, a very good Denver defense, and they're winning 19-0 headed into the fourth quarter against the Broncos. And that time, I'm telling you, I'm watching the game, I'm like, yo, the Giants, first of all, these two guys saved everybody's job, and the Giants actually have a chance to have a good season now. Like, they could be a good team now with how they're playing with these two guys. All right? And the Giants ended up blowing it in the fourth quarter of that game in Denver. Ended up losing the game. And then the next week, on Sunday, okay, I'm coming back from Toronto, World Series, watching the game, and Cam Scatterbull against the Eagles now again in Philadelphia, all right? 2 weeks after embarrassing them in front of the nation, you know Philly, the reigning champions, are laying for the Giants, okay? Laying for them, ready for payback. Scatterbull scores again in the first quarter against Philadelphia, and then, he gets a brutal, gruesome injury to his ankle. That's it for him. Season over. Saquon Barkley, former Giant, had the big game that game against the Giants. Giants get blown out against Philadelphia. Season over, okay? The Giants only won 1 game, has won 1 game since then, okay? But Jaxson Dart, to me, he's shown a lot of athleticism, showing that he could pass. The Giants can't get rid of this guy, okay? Can't get rid of him. That'll be stupid, all right? If you draft Dante Moore, hey, and he's playing, we have a young black quarterback, I'm not going to be mad, but, deep down, if I'm being honest, the Giants would not be smart to mess with Jaxson Dart right now, okay? And Scatterbull, hopefully he comes back healthy. Malik Neighbors, the Giants' big-time receiver, he got hurt early in the year. So if Scatterbull and Neighbors come back, look, the Giants, to me, have a lot of talent, okay? But they have a losing culture. They have been bad for so long that there's no belief in that building, in that locker room, that they can beat anybody. But again, with Scatterbull and Dart together, they made you believe anything was possible. But that ended quickly, all right, with Scatterbull's injury. But I think that the Giants, if they can get a good coach, I think they could be a good team next year because they have a lot of talent. When you are bad for years and years and years, and you pick high in the draft, you can accumulate a lot of talent. So they have a lot of talent on the team. Like, to me, no pun intended, they're a sleeping giant right now, So who should the next coach be? All right, well, I'll tell you who I want. To me,